evening, family. Oops, this meeting is being recorded. Wanted to check that. All right. Good evening, families, and welcome to Supporting Your Student in the Job and Internship Search, part of our family webinar series. Thanks for joining us tonight, and as always, thank you for supporting our Eagles. I'm Camille Clark, and I'm the Associate Director for Family Engagement. Joining us on the call tonight are our panelists, Brian Rowe, Director of Experiential Education at the AU Career Center, Caroline Figueiredo Hausman, Assistant Director of Career and Professional Development in the Kogod School of Business, David Fletcher, who is the Senior Career Advisor in the School of International Service. And then also joining us on the call is Julia Gibson, who's our digital content creator, who will be helping to manage our tech. AU offers a comprehensive array of resources, programs, and services to assist students and graduates with their career development. In tonight's session, we'll hear from experts in our Career Center as well as our Business and International Service schools to talk about resources for students, how we cultivate relationships with employers, and how families can best support their students. So before we get started, I do have a couple of notes for you. The first is that this session is being recorded, and we'll share it with you just as soon as it's available to you. The second is that we will have time at the end of this session for Q&A, but feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen at any time if you have a question. So I'm going to share my screen now so that we can get started. And yes, go ahead and take it away. Whoops.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Camille. If you could go back just one more, please, Camille. Go forward just one. So we see the three offices.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's we can talk about our three offices, everyone. So we represent three different career offices at American University. I am from the AU Career Center. So my office is by numbers the biggest office. We work with all students from the College of Arts and Sciences, the School of Public Affairs, the School of Communication, and then we work with first and second year undergraduate students from the School of International Service. So that's my student population. I've been at AU for a little over 10 years now, and my focus is School of Public Affairs and School of Communication, and then I am Director of Experiential Education, so quite a bit about internships and other types of experiential learning. So that's me. Caroline?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Caroline, she, her pronouns, and I work at the Kogod Office of Career Engagement. So we work with all students, undergrad and grad, interests in the business school and interested in working in the world of business. I've been at AU 4 years now, and in this role for over a year. We're excited to always work closely with Brian and David at the different offices as well, but we do provide a more dedicated support for private sector business-minded students.
Good evening. Welcome to our Supporting Your Student in the Job and Internship Search program. I work with our students in the School of International Service. My name is David Fletcher. I'm our Senior Career Advisor, and I work with juniors and seniors at the undergraduate level. And at the master's level, I work with our first and second year students, as well as alumni from our program. And we provide those services to get students into an international relations field. Many of them go into the government or private sector, nonprofit, think tanks, maybe the intelligence community. So it's a very wide, diverse field. And we're happy to be here tonight to talk to you. So to get us started on talking about who your students have as their network, they're surrounded by individuals that can help to provide them with information. Networks are made up of many folks, not just their alumni from their program, but families, faculty, sports coaches. It could even be someone character reference like a drama coach. Maybe they were in scouting, Girl Scouting, Boy Scouting. Employers, people who have hired them, even for non-career related, could be for food service, customer service roles, childcare, internship supervisors, of course. And then we fall in there as career services. We can help with networking. But again, students have this great support system, and we point them in the direction of all of these resources that they can use for helping to find internships and jobs when appropriate. So with career education, there is often the placement of career services into the classroom. We very much like to be able to add what we do and have that introduced into coursework so that a faculty member may let us in for 1 or 2 classes, or perhaps we even offer a career course, which the main career center and the Kogod School of Business both provide career courses. So with career education, faculty may ask us to come in and talk about what we do. They may ask for our presentations on resume writing. They may want us to bring in an alumni to talk about career direction. Internships for credit. These are university supervised internships. They must be supervised by a faculty member because the student gets credit, goes on their transcript. So they would have a faculty member who gives them a grade. They do go off campus for these internships at real world employers, but they can substitute anywhere from 1 to 6 credits. I believe that's the limit for that course. So they would not have to take a certain class. They would get credit for that internship. The career courses are a great way for students to go from start to finish, learning everything from career assessments to determine what they want to do with their career, resume writing, cover letters, interview skills, networking, everything from start to finish. Capstone and 100 level courses are often ways for us to get into classrooms at a very meaningful level. We provide workshops and webinars. We certainly have career appointments. In my school, most of ours are drop-in so that students have access next day to advising, but many of the offices will provide reserved times of up to 30, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, depending on what the topic is. So these cover all sorts of things from career exploration, as I mentioned earlier, choosing a major or minor, internship search, interview prep, mock interviews, job search, salary negotiation, and then curated self-service resources with job search, interview prep. Our websites often are the place where students can get this information. We have a platform called Handshake, which carries a lot of information as well. And so that's really a breakdown of the resources that are available to your students.
So a little bit about what we do to help support students to get career ready. We base career readiness on NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, Career Ready Competencies. So these 8 career ready competencies are things that your student is working throughout their time here at AU. I almost said Kogod, folks, sorry. But here at AU, they are, of course, a range of things from critical thinking, communication, leadership, teamwork, tech, equity, and inclusion that they're getting through their courses. But we are also here to help work with them on professionalism, as well as career readiness and self-development. So we work closely with our workshops, right, our classes, but then also with faculty and other services here at AU to really make sure students have the ability to be as ready to jump into the job market and into the rest of their life as possible. So these are just a few of maybe the grounding values as we approach working with students. It's not just about placement or jobs. It's about making sure that they are able to have the skills ready to take ownership of the rest of their career and feel empowered to move through that, not just right after college, but throughout the rest of their life. Next slide, please.
All right. And part of that, absolutely part of that career progression at AU is engagement with internships. So they're learning so much in their academic programs, and they're getting very transferable skills in their academic programs. As Caroline showed you with the competencies, we can go through and say, got that in the class, there's examples of this from a class, so much of that. And many AU faculty members really get that. We're not saying, you have to teach anything different. You're giving them so many of these transferable skills. In addition, a great, obviously, opportunity is internships. The internship rate at AU is very high. We have students who come in. I often am talking to colleagues in other universities, and they're like, we struggle to get our students to do an internship or two. And sometimes I'm having conversations with students I really want to emphasize quality over quantity. You can't really fit 8 internships on a one-page resume, and also do anything else at the university, right? So this is an opportunity. There are so many opportunities in DC. Is this always easy? No, right? Internships aren't, they don't just fall into your lap, but there are so many opportunities for students to engage in internships. But we want them also to make really informed kind of strategic choices with their internships. That's why, for instance, we recommend come talk to a career advisor in your first semester, honestly. And that can be, I'm not quite sure what my major is going to be. I have no idea what I want to do after I graduate. Totally okay. What should I sort of work on? What do I build as a foundation, right? So we introduce the concept of these competencies and of transferable skills. And sometimes, a student will come to us thinking in a deficit, right? I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. And I'm like, haha, you do have this. Let's look at, adventures in babysitting, right? Well, I've just babysat, right? Oh, you mean people put the lives of their, children in your hands for several hours or longer at a time, and really we can walk through these kinds of positions and then really preparing them for the internship search. Our goal, as Caroline was also alluding to, is, we don't want to make them dependent on career services. We do want them to learn from us, to use the resources, to take advantage of, these networking events or these employer meetups, or these mentorship programs. We want them all to engage in that so that when they leave, they don't need, I can do this on my own, or I know where to go for resources and assistance. We want to create that. So again, meeting with a career advisor to talk about internship issues. First year, some students, many of David's students, many of my students, I'm sure some of Caroline's students are interested in national security careers, right? That is a DC thing. Intelligence community careers. They want to start having those conversations with them. The employers want to start having those conversations in the first year, in many cases, with students, because of the length of time it takes to get security clearances. And yes, some of your students will get security clearances and internships. Helping them with their job search materials. So that is, showing them examples of resumes that employers find favorable in design, having the student create something, working with the student. There's multiple ways that we engage with a student that way, showing them where the opportunities are. So again, handshake, any employer that says I have an internship for a student, that's where we're directing the employer to create that, right? So to list that internship, showing the student how to use Handshake, right? It's a big platform. They can look for internships on there, jobs as well. They can sign up for events, right? So they can RSVP for events and then get supplemental information on that. The job fairs, virtual job fairs, are hosted through Handshake, right? So they can be attending those virtually in addition to the in-person events that we have. So, and in addition, interviewing. Many students haven't done a formal interview yet, right? That's something we do both in person. They can have a mock interview appointment, or we have online systems, because more and more we're seeing some employment situations are using, like, answer these questions, or there's some version of AI conducting a baseline interview, a first interview. So we actually have systems online to help them get comfortable with that, right, and practice. Other opportunities, kind of interfacing with other kind of key activities at AU. We have these 3 study abroad centers. So these are AU centers in Madrid, Nairobi, Brussels, and there are internship opportunities at those locations. Now, obviously, finding an internship in DC, even with assistance, is not an easy thing. It's a challenge. You have to work hard at it. In Madrid, Nairobi, and Brussels, because that's on a different continent, in a different cultural context, there are staff there that are actually helping them. But I do prep quite a bit. For instance, with the Brussels program, the students are meeting with me so that I can help them get their resume in the right shape, so that the team in Brussels, who's interfacing with the employers, can really make those matches over there. So when they go over, they've got those opportunities. But that's fantastic. A student can have an international internship, especially in those 3 places. Those are absolutely attainable there. In addition, I think there's other opportunities for international internships.
And Brian, can I ask you about Handshake?
Sure. What would you like me to talk about at Handshake?
Is that platform available after a student graduates?
Oh, great. Yeah. And I was going to say, thank you, Caroline and David. Take a look at the questions that have come in too. That can help as well. Yes, Handshake is available forever, right? Now, I think at some point in a student or an alumni's career, the positions on Handshake are not going to be, the positions on Handshake are usually targeting new graduates, right? Both at the undergraduate and graduate level. But there is no expiration on that. So as AU alums, you're going to have access to that. And, at some point we want them to come back as alums, right, to help current students. But yeah, there's no expiration on that. You will have access. And by the way, you'll have access to, the students who become alums will have access to career services continuing, right? And always any kind of resource on the website, job fairs, anything like that, that doesn't expire. So other types of, a student will be like, what do I need to do to make my resume? Or, what experiences should I have to be very competitive for internships? We start talking to them about leadership, or participating in sort of leadership activities on campus, community engagement. We have a great office that sort of, their focus is community engagement and volunteering, right? Those are types of activities that begin to build that foundation so that they're a better and better candidate for these internships. So, and we also have increasingly engagement with faculty, research, for instance, with faculty, that employers value all of these things, right? They don't expect to just see 5 internships. It's great to have 2 internships on your resume, as well as maybe a study abroad experience, a research experience, a significant volunteer experience. That's excellent. So. And certainly, I know, when we come to Q&A, I'm happy to talk more about internships and engagement with that. So next slide, please, Camille.
That's me. Sorry, answering some questions in the Q&A. So a little bit about the connections. We offer, obviously, as mentioned, workshops, career education, working one-on-one with students in classes, lots of things. However, we also have dedicated employer relations side where we're working to bring different folks onto campus. So we have job and internship fairs every semester where we bring multiple companies who are recruiting onto campus. So students are able to come around, meet with employers there, recruiters, and get in front of those who could be hiring them and seeing what are the opportunities available. This is also great for first-year students or second years, even if they're not yet looking for internships or jobs to attend, to again explore what are the opportunities available to them. We also host a lot of industry events or networking receptions for specific groups, targeted majors or pathways. So there are a lot of availabilities as well to get to hear, from really interesting people. We recently had Wes Bricker, one of the co-chairs at PwC, speaking. So we had an event there hearing about that, as well as networking afterwards. We also host individual or smaller employer meetups, either companies that are willing to come on campus, host an info session to talk about what do they offer, what is a job like there, what is the process to apply, or even sometimes individual one-on-one meetings. There are a lot of opportunities for interviewing. We do mock interviews. We have some employers who do come in and are willing to interview on campus as well. We do also have a few more specialty programs with employers, alumni in residence or alumni panels. We even do site visits or treks where we'll bring a group of students out to go visit employers. So we offer not just opportunities for support within our office, but we are also offering to connect them with other opportunities outside, either employers or alumni across the board. So there's a lot of really great events. Those are just a few to get, just general events to get us started on the connections we have outside to the community as well. Next slide, I think. All right, jumping in, what about COGOD's approach? So COGOD is a little bit different, but not too much, right? Our office mission is to empower students and alumni to build meaningful relationships and careers. So we work within our office to provide all of the coaching, career education services, as well as employer events, info sessions, based on sort of 8 different functional pathways, let's call them, right? So we work on focusing with students who want to break into accounting and tax, or analytics and IT roles, consulting roles, entertainment industry, finance and real estate, management and entrepreneurship, marketing or sustainability management. So that is how we sort of help support and give really market relevant, dedicated support services. We're constantly trying to figure out what's happening in the industry, what are they looking for, and then working to bring those folks onto campus and working with the students to get them ready to be competitive in the market. As you can see on the other side, for some of our employer relations side, we do meet and greets, industry days, or local treks, or even treks to places like LA, New York City, Nashville. We also bring in a lot of alumni to do panels or sessions. We work quite closely with the alums to create sort of career communities events as well, so that way they can really start building their network. On the coaching side, we offer individual and appointments. We have drop-in hours. We also offer a lot of workshops. We provide a list of tailored resources, templates, and guides on our Handshake platform, as well as curriculum touchpoints. We have a few different courses which we pop in, help support, as well as offering some internship courses. Right, next slide.
So I've been told that I was speaking quietly, and I've never been accused of being a quiet person. So I will make sure I'm heard. Thank you very much. I appreciate the feedback. It's probably the computer. So with the School of International Service, we have a governing organization called the Association of Professional Schools of International Affairs. So we work very closely with the other 35 or so schools. Names of schools like Georgetown, Harvard, Princeton, London School of Economics. So these are all very prominent organizations. These institutions create the same candidates that we do, and we are all putting them into international relations. So we share a lot of best practices. So that's something to let you know. They're getting advice not just from our school, but also from other institutions. We put on, as a school career office, our own events, but we also partner with both the COGOD Career Office and the Maine University Career Center. But some of the examples of programs that we do mock interview preparation. We do those as events, and we do those in one-on-one advising. Resume workshops, because there are multiple formats for resumes: a federal style resume, a one-page resume, perhaps a 2-page CV that's a little more expansive that an employer may ask for. There are even European formats that we are familiar with. Employer site visits. We're really excited. As a university, we're going to the CIA this semester. Oops, I'm not sure if I was able to say that. That might have been under wraps. We're also going to the State Department. So there are a number of really exciting trips that we take. We have that advantage being in Washington, D.C. We have the World Bank. We have these embassies and think tanks that are right here in our backyard. Job shadowing. We offer a job shadowing program. We also offer a mentoring program and networking receptions. We're really thrilled to say we have one as recently or as quickly as next Friday, a networking reception coming up. Advising. We've gone to a strictly drop-in advising model. We have students that are very excited about our advising. Unfortunately, if we have reserved times, it can often book out 6 weeks. So what we do is we offer that day advising 5 days a week, drop in, no appointment needed, just show up either virtually or in the lobby. I just got here from 9 drop-in appointments in our lobby that took place this afternoon. So we are very happy to be talking with students, and we do so at a no waiting policy. Basically, come in and we'll talk. And it is open. Our lobby drop-in advising is for all students. They don't have to be SIS. I talked with an SPA student and a COGOD student both this week who came in. So just let your students know that we have that option. I'm done. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you. This is a little bit of a highlight of some of the events that are coming up. And Camille, I'd like to show or share our website just so the families can see like all of the events. This is just a little like a sample. So my office works quite a bit with the schools that we work with, right? So the way we interface with the College of Arts and Sciences is very individual by department, right? So we may do something with neuroscience that's very different than what we do with history, but there frequently are employer panels with those majors, those departments where we bring back alums as well. Advocacy, policy, and legislation networking reception. That's something we do. We partner with the School of Public Affairs on that. When I say that, every student at AU is welcome at that, right? So it might be that students from the School of Public Affairs, would be more represented with that. But if David had students that want to come, no problem. They just walk right in. Caroline as well. We tend to be very collaborative with these offerings too, based on student interest, and we know those sort of cross boundaries of schools. Mentoring, the School of Public Affairs has a something called the Public Affairs Connect, where students can connect with an AU alum from the School of Public Affairs, and then our School of Communication has a mentoring event as well. And then with the School of Communication, my office, we run a trip to LA. So for folks from the School of Communication, they can go to what's called the LA Intensive. There's one in New York. The New York one is like, we head up to New York, visit very high profile employers there, kind of a selection of those. And then in LA, they rent they rent a very nice house, and the students are kind of living in it, right, in the house for a week. And then AU alums are coming to the house to do presentations and sit on panels. And then the students will do like selected site visits in the Los Angeles area to different organizations. So, my office works with them, but this is just a small, like, sort of smattering of things that our offices do. You can see that on our website. You click events and programs, there's networking events, for instance. So these are pretty continuous. And I think for me, our ask is help us. So you just have, be aware of these. And if you can encourage your students to apply, that would be wonderful. Apply, attend. That really would help us out very much. All right, Caroline, I think your next steps, right?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions from folks around Handshake, so I'll spend a few extra minutes that we hadn't planned, if that's all right, talking just a little bit briefly about Handshake and an overview, and then I'll give you some of the recommended first steps for students that you can work with them. So Handshake is a dedicated career platform. It is used by over 500 universities across the US. This is where students can find jobs posted directly on there by companies who are looking for college students. But this is also where, when our employer relations side or folks, we get people reaching out to us with opportunities, we work with them to get them on there. So this is the place students can really go to find an extremely large range of opportunities. I saw a question around midwifery. I'm not sure, tell you the truth, I'm School of Business. I'm not sure if that's on there, but it could be. If not, I am absolutely positive our fantastic coaches will still be advisors who will be happy to help the student with that. But this is a really great one-stop shop to get started. Of course, there might be dedicated platforms or other job boards that they would like to look at. We're happy to work with them, but Handshake really is a great resource. Handshake is also a place they can research the employers. Students who take internships at a company such as EY might post on Handshake, what were the interview questions they asked us, right? Or who was someone they contacted? What are their thoughts on there? So this is also a great place for students to kind of do some research on employers from other students. This is also where all of our events through the career offices are posted, so students can RSVP. This is where our workshops and career education events are, our career fairs and alumni events, and especially big post the world of online courses. A lot of our employers will post and host their own events through Handshake. So even if, let's say, next week we're bringing in EY to do some interviewing and behavioral interviewing prep and resume look, great. But let's say they weren't coming and a student wanted to get there, they could go and see if EY is hosting any events. So it is a great place, again, to see the opportunities that are out there. Finally, of course, this is the place that you are going to connect with our offices. You can schedule appointments there. Students, based on their major, are given a career advisor or career coach. It is not based on like a person, but it's by school or by major or by pathway. So anytime a student creates an account, logs into Handshake, they click Career Center, appointments, schedule an appointment, choose their option, they will see an opportunity of a coach to meet with. So that is excellent. Also in Career Center is where they find our resource library, along with sometimes on our web pages. So this is a great platform for students that we kind of put everything career-wise in one place, so they don't have to jump around into multiple tech sources. So in that note, what I do recommend with your student is definitely get them logging in or claiming their account if they have not. American.joinhandshake.com. They will log in with their AU username, right? Yeah, AU information. And once they're there, that's how they can RSVP on it for events, right? Fairs or workshops, schedule an appointment with a career coach. This is also where they can access those resources, as well as apply for jobs and explore opportunities. If your student doesn't even know where to start, I definitely recommend meet with a coach or an advisor. Come to our virtual drop-ins if we have them, and at least get some support on what your next steps will be. We'll be happy to work with them to create sort of a plan or a strategy. So I think that's all I really wanted to talk on Handshake. Brian, David, anything else from y'all before we wrap up and go into Q&A?
Just wanted to encourage you to have your students come in and talk. I think one of the best ways to clear up a lot of the questions, a lot of the curiosity that's going on, is to make sure that they have time in their busy day at some point to make an appointment, to drop in, to speak with their advisor, to talk with the offices, to see what resources are there. Often there's a lot of misunderstanding about what's out there. If they come in and talk, we can clear up those misperceptions.
Any last thoughts from our panelists? All right, we're going to head into the Q&A, but before we do that, I do just want to share our parent and family engagement slide as well. So our website is listed at the top. You can contact us on ServiceNow, our eaglefamilies@american.edu. We also have a Facebook page, the Family Update newsletter. Family Weekend this year will be in September. We also have live webinars, very much like this throughout the school year. And of course, dedicated staff such as myself, our director, Karen Casella, our program coordinator, Amy Neal, and our assistant director for orientation, Amanda Dowd. So want to thank our families again for taking some time and meeting with us tonight. And we'll head into our Q&A. With that, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so everyone can see all of our lovely faces. And I want to start with some questions that our families submitted, and then we'll head into any questions that came in through the Q&A. There's quite a few, so we'll do our best to get to as many as we can. But I'll start with this. So we had a parent who was curious about whether or not AU has a standard policy about missing classes for internship interviews, or whether or not that's up to instructor discretion. So in reference, this person was talking about internship interviews for the government. And so they're a little bit stringent on time and they may overlap with class a little bit. So what can you offer as far as guidance around whether or not there's a standard policy?
Right. This is a tough one, honestly, because the policy is students should attend classes, right? Now, some faculty are pretty flexible and understanding about it, especially if your student's been in class all the time and that, everything's all good, asking a week or 2 or 3 in advance. I've found that faculty tend to be more receptive if it's like in advance they're asking, because the student's demonstrating, look, time management skills. I understand this this conflicts. But the policy would be the faculty member, the student should attend class when class is happening, and then work with the faculty member.
Thank you.
If the student wanted to talk with a career advisor, and again, we're never going to tell a student unless it's a pretty really like it's strong issue, right, that has a right and wrong. We're going to have the student kind of work through, like, if you're doing really well in that class and all of a sudden the faculty member is like, you have to make that decision. We're going to help them make that decision, but they're going to make the decision whether to skip that class or not, letting the faculty member know.
Thank you. What are the common mistakes that students make in applying for internships? This could be from resume, on their cover letter, or their interview. What can you share?
Oh, thank you for this question. And I think all 3 of us can answer. Look, the students do a great job, right? The data shows us, if you go to We Know Success, American University, Google that, right? Can you put that in the chat, Camille?
Yeah.
I love We Know Success because it's the data, right? It's the last 3 graduating classes. It's an aggregate of the last 3 graduating classes. You can look by school, you can look by undergrad, grad, you can look by undergrads in poli-sci, like what does the information show about their internship engagement, employment, salary, private sector, but all of that. Oh, I get so excited talking about We Know Success. Mistakes. Okay. So I think some are like, they're sending the exact same cover letter, like they just printed out like 40, 50 of these, like with no modifications. It's very much a form letter. Employers spot those in a heartbeat. I'm sure there's parents on this call that hire, right? Like you can, you know this when you see it. Mistakes on resumes. You don't usually, if a student's applying to Capitol Hill internships, they are very similar, right? From office to office, their employers are usually looking for similar skills. So of course the cover letter is going to address specific skills that are all the same on that, but you still need to personalize it and fine tune the resume, right? Sometimes I'm meeting with a student and they've got, in an experience, they may have 4 or 5 really good bullet statements, action statements. And I'm like, let's switch the order. Let's bring the ones that are more relevant to this employer up top, right? To see that. So that level of fine tuning, sometimes students don't do that. I think, interviewing, really taking interviewing seriously, preparing for interviewing, running questions in their mind, listening to their own answers. I think, sometimes I see that as a mistake. David and Caroline, are there any kind of like common mistakes that you're seeing?
I'm going to say I put on a panel just this week, a program along with a colleague from COGOD, and we showed a statistic showing that the #1 skill that employers were looking for from students was quality communication skills and writing. And unfortunately, that was the lowest rated for students to demonstrate. So in other words, the gap between what was wanted and what is available was very high. It was a bad ratio. So I've often said to students they're their own worst enemy when sending out poor materials, because applying for internships and jobs is a form of marketing. And when you send bad marketing materials, that employer is going to move on to the other student, the next candidate. So tell your student a resume with typos, bad punctuation, missing punctuation, bad grammar, typos. It's just they're harming their own chances. And as Brian said, a one-size-fits-all generic cover letter that says nothing to the employer about why they're a qualified candidate. They're just a great person. They're wonderful. They are good at reciting their resume. So make sure students are coming in to get quality advice on what are the best practices, what have those students that have succeeded at getting internships and jobs done that's making the difference. Why are they any different than your student who's struggling at this process? It's often a very simple solution. It's not the major, it's not connections, it's not their grades. In most cases, it's the quality of the material sent to the employer, and we can correct that. It's a very fixable problem.
Thank you. Now, I imagine that this is going to be different based on company or organization. But what do you think is the balance between teaching interns and expecting value-added contributions from the intern?
That's a wonderful question. So when I talk to students about internships, right, versus a job, that is that balance, right? It is the contribution versus learning, right? And really a good intern employer understands that yes, the student will be contributing somewhat, but they have an obligation, right, to educate the student in this profession, and that can be, again, most employers are actually really excited about getting interns. It's like fresh, like fresh eyes, and the students are excited, and they're often like really like, wow, and the kind of sometimes employees get a little jaded. You work someplace a little while, and it's so nice to see that reaction from the students, right? And they come with really interesting ideas, right? A lot of employers value that because this is the next generation, right? So the employers are learning a lot about that. So I think I talk to the students about that even when they're writing their cover letters for an internship. The employer wants to see like an interest in the job, and that the student has read the job description, has looked on, just researching. It's so easy to research companies and orgs online, right? You can kind of speak really intelligently, and balance that. Like, I'd like to learn this. I'd like to contribute this. Here are my transferable skills in so many words. Here's what I'm really interested in learning. So is every internship this wonderful, nice balance of that? No, right? Some are a little more like, learn, observe, and others want a lot more work out of a student, right? So we can also help them kind of assess that from the job description. If an intern employer has, some will have obviously a really well-developed job description. Some will say, okay, in addition to your supervisor, you get like a mentor at the org, and maybe you touch base with them twice a month, right? That's not your supervisor. I've seen that develop in tends to be larger employers, right, who have the capacity for that. Sometimes in federal government, they have wonderful programs like that. So, again, that would be an org that is really takes that really seriously. I just had a meeting with the Australian embassy. What's today? Okay, the jobs are posted, so I can talk about it, the internships. Last week, and they said that the person from the embassy said like 4 times in an hour that this internship program is a pipeline to full-time employment at the Australian embassy. Just directly said that multiple times, because a lot of embassies in DC employ locals, right, like American citizens. So so we talked about the 3 internship openings. They're kind of rebooting their internship program during the pandemic. Some of these went quiet, right? Went dormant as they were. Some could do really great virtual, others not so much. Australia, I think, kind of didn't do much, but now they're kind of roaring back, right? And they're really clear about, they have 2 internships in their kind of congressional affairs office, because that's what a lot of the embassies in DC here have, kind of these liaisons that keep track of what's happening on Capitol Hill. So, they're hiring 2. So that would be great, an internship, if your student has had an internship on the Hill, had that great experience. This is kind of like a next thing, your student who's already been on the Hill before would be very attractive to the embassy, in that they knew how that worked, right? That all worked. But absolutely, they were like, this is a pipeline. We have full-time positions to fill. We fully intend on hiring, our first choice is to hire those best candidates that have been through the internship program. So, you see that level of, they're absolutely willing to kind of add that educational component to it, because it is kind of like an extended job description or job interview that lasts 3 months, right? 4 months. So. But that's having the students be aware of that it is this interesting balance of contribution and education, and that no 2 internships will have exactly the same balance. I know Caroline or David, if you want to add anything to that.
Thank you. How important do you all think it is to have an internship or internships on your resume as a student is applying for jobs after graduation?
Yeah, I mean, David, yeah, go ahead. Start off, David.
Oh, this is one
of course, I have thoughts, right? But start.
One of my favorite questions. One of the reasons why students like coming to Washington, D.C. is because of the proliferation of opportunities. And internships really are test drives for a career vehicle, if you will. That's a terrible metaphor, but students get to try out careers. So an internship's a really great way to figure out, oh, I do like the law, or I don't like medicine, or I really want to work for the government, or, oh my goodness, Capitol Hill is, not the place for me. So internships are valuable, and employers really do like to see real world work experience on a resume. What that does is it helps that student prepare with skills they wouldn't get in the classroom, like perhaps writing emails, because in a classroom it might be using a different platform, but in a real world setting, that intern is learning how to take supervision, take critical feedback for their work, be able to work with colleagues in a real world setting to deliver programs and projects. And so these are skills that are really curated and found on the job that may not exist in the classroom. And that really moves that candidate further along as a young professional. It's one thing to be great and have excellent coursework and a nice degree, but it's really nice when they add to that, putting those skills to work in the real world outside the classroom. And that's what gives students an advantage or an edge in applying for jobs.
I could jump in. I think David did a great job of like the greatness of an internship to experience and try out and see what is out there if they enjoy it. We have a lot of questions in the chat around, could my students are applying, they're not hearing back. When is the good time? How is this going? DC does have a great proliferation of internships, but they are also very competitive as well, right? So students working with our office can really help them to, work on their personal branding documents, resumes, cover letters, also to help them out if they do get called in for an interview, to really give them that competitive edge. So I do recommend, if you have students in there, we have quite a few saying they've applied to more than 20, they've done this. Do recommend they come back into our office, right? It's more on how are they approaching talking about the skills they have. That is very important as well.
And my 2 cents on that, are internships on resumes good? Yes. That varies by field though, right? So again, if
True.
you're talking about, a neuroscience student, they might get amazing on-campus research. They may be involved in research on campus. And, an internship wouldn't be bad at all, but they could also kind of meet that professional development, like in other ways, right? So I think it's sort of, it depends on what the student is studying too, and how to get that kind of like experience engagement. Part of my office is the Office of Merit Awards, right? So these are specialized advisors that are working with students who are applying to things like Fulbright, Truman. There's all these amazing fellowships that students usually do after they graduate. Some are during their time, like maybe in the summer. Critical language scholarship takes you to another country to study that language in depth. Those are languages that the US has determined are like critical, right? So that leads to government jobs, and that's all paid for. But those my advising colleagues who working with fellowships, they're like, a mix is actually better than 5 internships for them. The successful Fulbright candidate might have an internship or two, a couple of leadership experiences, like they like to see that sort of mix. So there's not like one. Internships are great, absolutely, no doubt. They're not the only way, and that's coming from someone who works sort of all the time with that. Camille, I want to talk about the midwifery question. I love this. So that one, new to me, right? But what I would do if a student came to me about that is, so one thing we do as career advisors, there is no way that we have in-depth, detailed knowledge of all the, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of, permutations of careers, right? But what we do is we know how to sit down with a student and be like, let's look this up, right? Let's sit down, let's do some research, let's see where the connections are. I know this, there's a professional organization for midwives, right? Like, do they have it? Are they headquartered in DC? Maybe a lot of these things are, right? Do they have a mentor program, or do they have like, do they have a conference? My office, we work with the Office of Financial Aid. So students who meet certain financial eligibility, I can help them attend things like conferences. I have money, right, for that. And we always connect with those students who are eligible. So they're getting the emails if they're eligible. But yeah, so you can come at it, a student could come at us with something that's like, let's take a look at that. We know how to search and we know how to make those connections. It's not like, I have everything about midwifery in my head, but we can teach the student how to do that, right? And to explore that. So
we also have, not on Handshake, but through Handshake, dedicated platforms that are extra services to provide to help them with that research. So there are ways that we can tell them, hey, you can go on Firsthand Vault to get some support or different things on that.
Right. I'm seeing a lot of questions about the job and internship fair, the spring job and internship fair. So again, that's a virtual event hosted on Handshake, and that will be Wednesday, March 27th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. This is important. Please share this with your students. So the way the virtual fair will work is the employer has the opportunity to do one of two things or both. They can do like a presentation to a group, right? A virtual group, sort of like this. They can give that presentation. So the student then is getting like very strategic, up-to-date information about careers at that organization from a recruiter whose job it is to source a quality talent pool, right? So that's there. In addition, most of the employers will add to that, like, instead of, like, if you're at an in-person fair, there's a table and people line up at the table and you're waiting in line and you get your couple of minutes, right, with the recruiter. Handshake, they can sign up for 10 minutes with the recruiter so they can grab this spot. 10 dedicated minutes. I'm telling students that's usually not the case at a job and internship fair, and in-person one, right? You might get 2 or 3, or the employer might go, hey, you 4, let me talk about this internship, right, or this job. But the students will start signing up for those spots on March 6th. So, again, the really popular employers, their spots are going to fill up earlier. So I would recommend that on March 6th, the student logs in and starts saying, yep, I'll attend that group session. I want, a one-on-one with this recruiter from that org. I want a one-on-one with that recruiter from that org, and get those 10 minutes, right? And then it will be a conversation, with the recruiter, not in a big crowded, loud room, not with 50 people standing behind you. And obviously we're going to coach them on this, right?
We have
So,
a few workshops right
yeah,
beforehand to help
right,
them
right, right.
prepare them. We'll review resumes. We'll talk
Absolutely.
elevator pitches, how to
Absolutely.
network,
Yep. But
we don't
what,
just kind of throw them in.
No. And what can be tough though is sometimes the student will show up the day of and be like, how does this work again? And they haven't attended any of the events. And then they can grab the spots that are remaining, at the same day. But, if your student is interested in some of the more popular employers, March 6th is when they can start signing up for those. So that would be a help if you kind of broadcast that. And we will be doing that too, but we can use help. So.
Which is great, Brian. We had a few questions of how do they know about these events. So we do have them weekly emails from the main AU Career Center with our events, employer sessions, workshops, fairs. Also, I can speak to our office in Kogod. We send out so every other week, bi-weekly, with also specific jobs based on pathways, events, etc. There's also posted usually on like TVs around campus as they're being held or the week before. So there are other opportunities. I understand students basically probably get 100 emails a week maybe, but they are out there. And if they are looking for something, they can always just go to our websites or on Handshake as well to see those dedicated events.
And I just gave a session for kind of graduating students on the different opportunities available. It's in a series, right, called SOAR, right? SOAR, and this was the O, right? And we always ask, like, how did you hear about this event? And it's interesting, a lot of them say email. So people say, oh, we get too many emails. We all do, absolutely. But a lot of the students were like, saw it in an email. Some were like, heard about it from a friend. But we also have social media, so we have Instagram accounts. We're posting that. There'll be posters on campus. We try to do everything to put this in front of them. So, we're managing the relationship with the recruiters too. And they are very happy. I want to say this we survey their recruiters, right? So about the event, are there things the Career Center can do different or better at the event? Everything from how was the lunch? We get them boxed. When it's in person, we get them boxed lunches, or was the signage clear? Was the registration smooth? And then how were the students? Did they present professionally? Did they ask good questions? And we get really, really, really positive results. So we've had recruiters say, look, we recruit at the Ivies, and AU students are like on it. They are focused, concerned, knowledgeable. So we get really good feedback. But yeah.
Okay, we are officially at 8:01. So I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. I want to thank our families again for coming out, learning about ways you can support your Eagle. I want to thank our panelists again. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to speak with families on this really important topic. I'm happy you all came. Really good information. Any last thoughts you would like to share?
Camille, I want to make sure we get to all the questions. We've got some really good questions. Can we capture the ones that we haven't responded to yet?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So yeah, I was just working on one about State Department and CIA field trips. Those are open to all classes. Those spots go kind of fast, right? And then yes, students should come in their first year, their first semester to initiate the conversations, especially, State Department's not your first internship, right? So it's usually maybe your third, and again, that Australian embassy internship, not going to be someone's first internship. So how do you build that? If that's the goal, how would you build, what would be a good first internship before that to move into place? So yes, but we want to get to all the questions. So great questions. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for being partners in this. We'll do the heavy lifting. Absolutely. If you can just be like, hey,
Go talk to our offices. If the students have questions, I know it is sometimes difficult, but come in. We're not very scary, at least I hope not. So it is just a place to get started. Do encourage them as much as possible to come meet with us.
Our websites are listed there. Again, just saying, look at all these events that we do. And if you have, I think parents, and Camille, please help with this. If a parent has an individual question they want us to follow up with, please put us in touch. So
Yes, definitely. Happy to help.
okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.